first words of a fantasy football podcast should not be, I don't enjoy this at all, but
It's trash.
but but I don't know if I don't know if this is gonna look enjoyable to y'all, but this is gonna feel enjoyable for me and my brother BQ. How you feeling today, B?
I'm good. How you?
We out here, man. Day one, episode one of Other Side of the Game, the other side of all this beautiful marshmallowy fantasy football love y'all get. This is not that. This is not a fun game. We don't enjoy this, but the game is the game. It doesn't love you.
Winning is fun.
Only winning is fun.
Only winning is fun.
That's it.
Everything else about it is
That,
trash.
that's it. Every
Just to be
single
clear.
word that you hear from here is going to be about two men who just want to win, not play, not worry about the date. Win or it's trash. It's very simple.
Like, who is not trying to win? I'm just playing for fun. Who enjoys losing? Who are
I
these
don't like
people who enjoy losing?
I don't like those people. And if
I,
if you are one of those people and I seem to like you, I probably still do. I just like you a little less at the moment. I didn't notice about you. Just a
just a
little
little
bit
bit.
though. Just
Just
a
a little
little
bit,
bit.
though.
So we're here, man. We're here just to, two
Talk about the
fellas,
beautiful game. The
just a
beautiful
beautiful
game.
game of fantasy football. We appreciate y'all joining in with us. This is going to be a wonderful adventure. We are going to have a blast doing this, and we're just here to help you hopefully win because that's all we want to do. So we're just
Unless
going
you
to go
played
through.
against us.
This is the factuals. This is exactly right. So we're just going to jump right in. Simple. Why are we here? We're here because we do weirdly hate love this game. We've been playing it together for, let's say, well, about 10 years now. We've been in leagues together.
Sounds about right, give or
Sounds
take.
about right. We've been playing it much longer than that. I've been playing since, oh, goodness, I was 17 when I started. About 20 years of fantasy football for me. It sounds about,
Uh, 16 for me.
okay, 16 for you. So, yeah, I
16 for
mean,
me.
this is a yearly struggle that we go through. You are looking at two champions. We've won many, we've lost way more than we've won. And that is the pain in the eyes that you'll see here from from here on out. Why why do we do this? My question to you as my man, why do you still do this, man? Why are we here?
Because there's something beautiful about it. It's awful and it feels terrible when you lose,
Uh,
but honestly, it keeps communities of friends together in ways that would not happen otherwise because we're all grown ups. We all have a million things to do, and
right.
then every fall we all come back together for this miserable game that we all kind of enjoy, but
Kind of.
don't really enjoy.
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I echo it. I echo it. It's the same thing. It's about friendships. Me and my man B, we probably wouldn't be as close as we were if we didn't start with fantasy and then
That's fair.
blossom out from there. There was always a mutual respect, even though his team choices. We're not going to get into that. This is about fantasy football, not about.
And,
We're not going to worry. We're not going to worry about. We're not going to worry about that. I'm sure it's
not
going
going
to
to
come
worry
out.
about it.
We're not going to
Not, no,
worry
no, no.
about
It's not going to worry about it.
that.
Not
So
going to worry about them.
not going to worry
Not
about
going to
that
worry
part.
about them.
But it's just it is community, and I love mentally being better at people and things. I'm just going to keep it real. The mental aspect of you will not outmaneuver me in this game that is fickle and fake and nothing about it makes sense. But it makes sense to me. So when I do well, I know it's because I grind. And if
So,
you out here do well against me, you're not grinding as hard as me. So I hate this
so,
game.
so here's the thing. It sounds terrible. I understand that this is going to sound absolutely awful.
I'm gonna agree. I already said it.
Sometimes it's nice to just feel superior.
I'm just better than
I
you
am
at
just
this.
better than you.
I'm better than you at this
Like, I am better at this random game in which
than
I
you
have
are.
no control than you are.
Right. Because I
And somehow
understand the
it
randomness better.
matters.
The
It
randomness
matters.
makes more sense to me, and I can decipher it better than you can decipher the randomness. So I'm better than you, and I know we all feel like that. I know
You
we
are
do.
better. You are better. And then your wide receiver gets an injury in the first quarter of the finals, and you lose anyway because this game is still random. You can't
Right.
control it. It's going to play out how it plays
Right.
out, which is the fun of it. You can't
Word,
control
you can't control anything. Word to Brock Osweiler, who can come in,
it.
who can come in and throw 4 TDs and run for one. It doesn't matter if you pick up Brock Osweiler because everyone else on your team is just destroyed, and you win that.
You know
It
what?
doesn't matter.
That's
I'm
not
the
the
guy
worst.
who loses against that.
No, that's not the worst. On a beautiful Christmas morning, I woke up.
Ooh,
We had gifts under the tree. It was a
yes,
beautiful day. Whole family was
yes,
here.
yes.
Mom, my little brother, my daughter. Beautiful day.
A nice
And
little
then
Merry
Alvin
Christmas text.
Kamara went for I want to say 6 touchdowns
6, my man.
on
Could have been 7.
Christmas. Rest of the weekend didn't matter. You know, because this game is cruel like that. It doesn't just want to hurt you; it wants to hurt you on Christmas.
This game doesn't care about you.
It does not care.
You're
But
gonna
we
hear about
care.
it.
And we are here to help so that you don't go out the way that we have gone out at various times because of the randomness of this game.
100%. Now you can see the interactions. We're good there. But while the similarities are here, you can see it. The way we approach this game is drastically different. And that's another beautiful thing about this. There are many different avenues to greatness, and we've both taken them. And they are, while we may see certain players similarly, which is pretty much how that happens, how we approach these players, how we draft these players, how we value these players in certain ways, they can look a whole lot different. How do you approach constructing a team at first? The main thing is the draft. Everybody does that. We'll start
So
that part. How do you approach a draft?
you need a plan. Um, Things aren't always going to break right for you, but you got to have a plan when you're drafting. However you want to go about it. Some people like to go about it aggressively and just say, okay, best talent. I'm just going to stack that talent. I'll figure the rest out later. Other people have a set plan where they say, all right, first round, I want to make sure that I get a running back. No matter
Right,
what, I need to get a running back. Even if there's a run on them, I need to get a running back.
right.
Um, Generally speaking, I'm about value more than anything else. I want to
Right.
build value because if the pieces don't fit, I can make that work later. Just give me the value. So if there's a random run on running backs and say I'm picking 10th or 11th in a league, I might just grab Cooper Cup. I didn't want a wide receiver, but
Right.
that's probably going to be the best value. Build your team that way and then figure it out. That's how I like to go about it. But I'm also
Okay.
very risk averse. So if I have concerns about you, I will not pick you where everybody else may see you. If I really have concerns that you may get hurt or you have a contract situation that's bothering you, if it doesn't feel right to me, I don't like to go with it.
Okay. That makes sense to me. Um, we typically, Brendan and I, we typically do formerly called auction drafts, now salary cap. That's how we typically get down. We typically get down with constructing a team from scratch with a budget because it's just the right way to do it. It's the superior way to do fantasy football. And if you don't do it, please just try it once. Just try it once. If you don't
Just
like it,
try it.
that's cool. But if you haven't tried it and just won't, you're not understanding how magnificent. We have converted many a person over the years into the glory, but we know that most of y'all are just going to wait your turn and snag a player. But the same mindset will work. I am the pretty much polar opposite of what Brendan does. I am a build a team with as many monsters as you can get, and then grind the $1 players, the $2 players, the late ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th round guys who you do the work on, who you believe in. It's all about what you believe at the end of the day. Nobody has to like your team when they see it, but if it plays out the way you think it plays out, that's fine. That's where I live. I live in, we have a $200 budget. I'm spending 182 on 3 guys, 4 guys, and then I'll figure it out from there. And it makes sense to no one but me, and that's okay.
But if most of the people watching are thinking, I don't draft this way, that's why my value thing is so big. Like we play auctions. I still treat it like a traditional rounded draft. I will have value set up where it's like, this is my first round of players, this is my second round of players, so on and so forth. And I will go about it that way, at least for the first 5 or 6 rounds.
Right.
And then it's just kind of a who do I like? Because I don't know where everybody values everybody. So if I have what you call a reach, say you think in a snake draft he's a eighth rounder, and I grab him in the sixth. If he ends up being good, what's the difference?
What's the
Grab who you
difference?
like.
Right.
Get the players you like. If this is
100%.
supposed to be fun, and the small aspect of fun is I like this guy more than everybody else, and he was good. Because again, you can't control the results, but you still want to feel superior.
100%. And that's it. And value works. I don't dislike value. I will say it sometimes it looks like value doesn't matter to me. Value is just looks different to me. The value of a Derrick Henry last year before he got hurt versus the value of a Nick Chubb and a wide receiver who you reached on, a Chris Godwin, is different. Because when you have these guys who I felt Derrick Henry was going to put up one of the greatest years ever, and he would have. But if you value these guys in a certain way, and I look for how many points a week do I want to score? That's how it comes down to me. And if I can put these guys in a starting lineup and say, if I get this many points this week consistently, I'll win. Because making the playoffs is really all it comes down to. Make the
And
playoffs and whatever happens, happens.
that
How we
that
get there is differently. But
well,
how I get there, yeah,
that absolutely has its merits. 100%, it has its merits. I'm not going to dispute that. However,
he hates how I do it.
I
Look
no
at
no
him.
no
He
no
hates
no
how I
no
do
no
it.
no
He
no no
hates
no 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 no. I won't say that. The way I look at it is similar. Like I want to get to this many points on a consistent basis.
right.
The way I look at that isn't I want this top heavy monster team. The way I look at it is I just want consistency. I want to know that if I think you're gonna get me 12 points, I want to feel comfortable going into Sunday that I'm gonna get those 12 points from you.
Right.
I don't like the high volatility where you get 22 one week, six the next. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to
You're
do
not
the
a Mike
guesswork.
Williams guy.
No, 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 no.
You're not a Mike Williams guy. You're a Robert Woods
Mike,
guy.
that's not fair because Mike Williams, or excuse me, wait. Did you say Williams or Evans? Just so I'm
Mike
clear.
Williams. Mike
Oh no,
Williams.
no, 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 no. You're right. I am not a Mike Williams
You're
guy.
not a Mike Williams
I
guy.
am not a Mike
You're
Williams guy. Like,
not.
no, I don't need the volatility. Like, because then you're trying to guess. Is this the week he's going to go off? Maybe it's next week. You
Mm.
play him the week where he gives you six and you lose by 4 points, you're upset. Then you keep him on the bench the next week and he goes for 40. Then you're still upset. I can't deal with that. That's not for me.
It takes a
That is
different
not
level of
the
mind to
that
do it.
is not for me. Just give me
Takes
my
a
12 to
different.
14
eh,
points and I'm gonna be all right.
Right. That's cool. And I'll take my 12 to 14 from the one or two guys who I've done my research on. We'll get there. You'll get into the minds of how we get to how we feel about certain players when rankings start to come in, sleepers start to come in. We'll do a few mock drafts, but you'll really get into the mind of how I get to. Oh, you spent $180 on these three guys, but you feel the team that still scores enough to make the playoffs every year when you do it
You do.
because I'm
You do.
because it works. It works. It's
Well,
terrifying. I'm not gonna
no,
lie
no,
to
no,
you.
no.
You my man.
Does it always work, or do
It
you
doesn't.
always get yourself out of a jam? Because those are
Mm,
very, very different things.
mm,
It's
okay.
like, all right, the end result was fine, but I crashed the car
N-
on the way.
now we're getting to the nitty gritty
You
about
know,
the,
like
the
I need
season
a I need
grind.
a I want a smooth ride. I don't
Right. You
like
do.
I don't want the again. I don't like the volatility
You don't.
throughout. I just want the consistency. If I
Right.
lose with a number that I felt was good, I feel good about my week. That's just going to happen because the game is random.
It is. It is. It's very random. You
It's
can't live.
random.
You can't live how I live on these
I
fantasy
don't
streets. I
want
already
to.
see it.
I don't want to.
Our
I don't
text
want
threads
to.
are full of I don't know how you did this, but you did it.
You did it. You did it.
But I'll
You
get
did it.
there. But my because my whole thing is I know that the team I draft is 100% not the team I'm ending up with. I know that in every draft I go into. I
And
know
at
that
the
there are players who I will have, but there's no such thing as an untradeable player for me. I don't live in those lines. Some people
uh,
have, nope, you can't have this guy. I won't entertain it. I don't have untradeable. Now, is the cost
sometimes
going to
it's
be
just
something you pay?
it's
Of
just fun to
course
have
not.
players. Sometimes it's
It
supposed to be
is.
fun.
It
It is
is.
supposed
You
to
don't
be
care.
fun.
Right. What's more fun? Winning, like keeping the player because it's fun to have him, and then watching his leg fall off? or winning. You see the Matrix better than most people I see, B. So
Those can't
sometimes
be
it's
the
fun to have
only.
this guy. It's fun to have this guy, but if I unload him right here, and
All
because I
right,
see this
that's
guy's
fair. That's
trajectory
fair.
here,
Everybody
right,
has a, but no, okay.
the
What
million
was
dollar man,
no,
everybody has a
no?
price.
What was Mahomes' second season? What year was this? I am blanking on what year he
Is
came in the
that
league. But
is that
the
2019?
I want to say 2019, but don't hold me that it could have been 2018. All the same, everybody knows the point. He was untradeable. At a certain point, you can reach a certain rarefied air where it's like, I don't care what you're offering me. I'm going to keep this player. Like there,
Right.
Cooper Cup last year, in my view,
Mm,
should have been completely untouchable under any circumstances.
right.
But to your point, I participated in not one but two leagues where he was traded.
Right.
So,
And I traded for him in a league week 10, right before the deadline or something like that. Like
I
someone, it's
hope
all.
I hope
It,
whoever you were playing lost miserably in the
oh yeah,
playoffs.
no, it didn't go well for them. But that's
Good,
not my
good.
problem. My
No, it is
problem is not
not.
how
It is
you
not
do
your
after
problem.
it. That's
It
another
is
thing
not
we
your
got to get
problem.
into. This game is a solitary 100% grind to be the number one at the end. I don't care what happens to your team afterwards. Hope you do well, my man. Just not against me. Period. That's just how it
And,
goes.
and we see things differently in that way. But I like to. I want to win the trade, just to be clear. But I don't want anybody to feel sour about it. Like I build trades where it's like there is actual value in this if you consider the proper logic. The proper logic being the logic that I've given you to take this trade offer.
That's it. It's the only logic that matters. Do you know why this makes sense? Let me tell you. I'm gonna
But
tell you. You
I,
don't see why it makes sense. I'm gonna tell you why it makes sense. And if you don't see it, it's just because you don't see what you should see. That's it.
I
I'm here. I'm your dark Kermit. I'm gonna explain to these people what you say so articulately in the way that you really mean it, my man. So you can clean it up as nice as you want. All he said was, if you don't see it my way, you don't see it the right way. So that's on you. Good luck.
but you know what? My logic is normally fair logic. Like, hey,
It is. It is.
I'm going to give you two players to fill spots, but you're
Mm-hmm.
going to give me the best player in this draft. That is generally how I like to go about it.
One hundred
You
percent.
like to leave trades with both the best players and then give an excuse as to why it was good for the other person. Everybody else looks at you
Everything is
sideways.
a yes until it's a no. You never know how people value anything until you ask them. Ever. You never
That is
do.
actually great advice.
You
That is
never know
absolutely great
what
advice.
people think about a player until you say, "Hey, what do you want for this guy?" And it's less than what you were going to offer. That has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to give you what you should get. I'm going to give you what you asked for. I appreciate you talking this out with me. Here's this deal. You got about 20 minutes before I take it off. I'm that guy too. I'm not gonna let you sit. I'm not gonna let you sit here all day. We just agreed. We were just doing this for 15 minutes, and now that I said the deal here, 20 minutes later, it's not accepted. My man, listen, I'm not going. That's not how
See,
this works.
I want everybody to feel good at the end of playing. I don't want anybody to feel sour, you know. But there is something to be said about being ruthless in this game.
Okay. So speaking of your value, when you go and create rankings, when
Yes.
you are you a tiers guy? Are you a just I'm gonna rank these guys well how well I'm gonna do it, and then if these guys are gone, I'm just going to go to the next guy in line? Or do you have sectioned out? I section my guys out. I'll lead. I'll section my guys out in the tiers. So every position I have a group of players who are in certain tiers. And if I don't have to get the top guy in that tier, if I want someone, I want someone from that tier at a certain position. I want wide receiver two to be from this specific tier. I want wide
Yes.
receiver three from be this specific tier. And if I have to overpay $1, $2, $3 to get one of those guys, there's a reason why I put them there. So I'm going to pay for it and I'll figure it out from there. Typically, my budget is a lot higher than people. The way I price things is higher than most. So I don't ever really get outbid for someone because I'm ready to risk it all. We know this.
So definitely, I agree with you 100% in terms of tiers. I believe you said that you just group them by position in the tiers, or you'd like to stack the whole thing up and say this is my tier one player versus this is my tier one wide receiver, running back, so on and so forth.
I do every position separately. I don't
Okay,
rank guys into. I don't say this is my top 300 players. Period. That doesn't help me at
okay.
all because
It,
that doesn't help me draft at all. If you say I'd rather have Josh Allen than Austin Eckler, that doesn't help me draft my team if I have Josh Allen, but my running back ends up being Chase Edmonds. Just because I have a guy who's higher than Austin Eckler on my team, the construction of the team still matters. I'd definitely rather an Austin Eckler and a Kirk Cousins than Josh Allen and Chase Edmonds.
Absolutely.
It's just so you get into the point where tiers in relation to position is how I draft. So once I locked wide receiver is the most annoying because there's so many of them who can produce. But I probably have like 10 tiers of wide receivers that I
So
ranked out this year.
the thing with the wide receivers, it's going to stretch to the point that my tiers are much larger. Um,
Okay.
so I look at other positions like running back. I think tier one, I have maybe five, six guys that I'm like, okay,
Okay.
these are really the guys. Whereas wide receiver, I only have a few in tier one, but tier two might end up being 20
Might
players
have
easily.
like 15, 20
Yeah, where
guys.
it's just like,
Okay.
all right, we'll see where the value falls. Let me grab two from or one from this group, one from tier three, and hope in the best case scenario I end up with two from tier two because the value is going to stretch.
Do you have a hard drop off? Do you have a significant, okay, this is my last guy in my first tier versus the first guy in my second tier? How big is that drop off for you?
At wide receiver, I'm going to really have to figure this out over the next couple of days, but it's very possible my tier one is two players, and then there is a gap before the third player. It is
Okay.
very possible. I think that's where I'm leaning. I want to hear more out of Las Vegas, see what's going on with Adams. 'Cause he's Devontae Adams. You got to
He's
bet on him.
Devontae Adams. He's still in his prime.
Like you have to think of him in that manner. But same token, it's like though I think Derek Carr is a very, very good quarterback, I don't necessarily think that he is the best quarterback for your fantasy wide receiver. Then again, he's never had a wide receiver like Devontae Adams. So I got to
Right.
really decide how I feel about that, whether he is at the quote unquote bottom of my tier one or at the top of my tier two.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and we'll get into it, but I'm pretty sure my tier one in wide receiver is one guy. My tier two is one guy, and then I start tier three with other guys.
I'm very
Because I
curious to
think
see who your tier two is.
because I definitely have a number one clear and a number two clear that are far enough ahead that I can't lump my number two into the tier with the top guy, but I can't drop him down because all these other guys I don't feel are on the same level as him. I don't.
My tier two guy, I don't want to get into rankings. I think Jamar Chase is going to be freaking amazing this
You
year.
do.
And if
You
he
do.
ends up being wide receiver one for the season, I will not be shocked whatsoever. I
Okay.
think he is going to ball out this year. But if at
Right.
the end of the year Cooper Cup doesn't has anything near what he did last year, it's going to be spectacular.
Then he's in a tier by himself.
I just expect some regression. Like
Right. Now some regression from him still has him at wide receiver one for the year. That's how crazy it got. But
I think Chase
see,
might go
we're
for
about to
20
hop into it.
touchdowns. I think Chase might go for 20 touchdowns. I really,
20
really
touchdowns
do.
is a
I
lot of wide receiver touchdowns, B.
17 games. I think he will basically
That's a
score every week this year.
that's a lot of wide receiver touchdowns.
I think he's going to
Woo.
score 20. I think he's going to score 20.
Devontae
Or, oh,
Adams,
wait. I'm sorry. Let me rewind. I think he has that potential. I'm
he
not betting
does.
on that. That's why
He
he's my
does.
number two. I just think he might reach that number one.
That's a great point talking about potential. How much does what you truly think of a player versus potential factor into your rankings?
Depends on the player because obviously when you have like rookies, it's all on what you think they can do. Um,
100%.
Oftentimes it can be something similar with second year guys, but if I'm betting big on you, I need to have seen it at least to a certain point. I might think that you could reach a different level, but I need to see at least a baseline that I feel comfortable with if I'm going to put something big into in terms of if it's an auction draft, how much money I'm putting on it, or if it's
Right.
snake like if I'm drafting you in the third round, I don't want to feel uncomfortable about drafting you. I want to feel good about the fact that you're a good player who's going to be productive unless you get injured.
Got it. Yeah, I pretty much feel the same exact way. There's probably a little bit more of what I personally think a player is going to do that goes into my personal rankings of guys, which is why I value them differently. But at the baseline, coming into a season, I don't, I never assume injury in my rankings either, because injuries are so fickle. Except for running back. Running back, when you can see running back start to dissipate, you can see, okay, he's never been hurt, but now he's been hurt 4 times in the last 5 years,
So what do
or
you
he
do with
got hurt
McCaffrey?
twice.
So what do you do with McCaffrey? Like this is the because he's so good. He is so good. But any other running
You know
back
what?
that has gotten hurt
That's
that much
fair.
in 2 years,
That's
we
fair.
would
You
think
called me on it.
very, very, very strongly like, okay, this guy, he's it's not it. McCaffrey's so good that we're still like, nah, I'll take him number one. That's cool.
That's a fair point because that calls me on what I just said, because I don't have him ranked number one because of that.
I, I don't have him number one either, but I'm more like, is he 7 or 8? Like I don't know if I could trust it.
Is he seven or
I
eight or
don't
is he two? Right. Right.
but I'm risk averse, so I'm more of the 7, 8 range. I'm not thinking about the
You
upside.
are.
I'm thinking about those weeks where he's injured and I'm starting
Chuba Hubbard.
some random
Young
Chuba
Chuba.
Chuba Hubbard.
Young
Like,
Chuba.
what do you do with him? Like, he got so many touches
He
and was
did.
so mediocre.
He was
What do you
just he
do with
was
that?
he was mid, as the kids say. Like, it's just not he
He wasn't bad. He wasn't good. 40
he was a
degree day.
40 degree
40 degree day.
he's a 40 degree day, man. That's all Chuba Hubbard is, a 40 degree day. But then you realize that he's just leading you back into when McCaffrey comes out and it's 82 degrees outside with
And,
no humidity.
and
And
that's
it's
the
just like,
thing.
oh my gosh.
You think maybe, hey, maybe it's the offense. Maybe McCaffrey's not that good. Then you watch Chuba Hubbard.
He is that
Then
guy.
you watch McCaffrey come back, and it's like, oh,
He
yeah,
is that
he
guy.
is that good.
Right.
He is that good.
Right. And that's where rankings get scary there, because you start to realize, I base my rankings off, give me 14 games. So if you play 14 games, because no one's gonna, a lot of guys who you're gonna talk to are gonna say, all right, we got 17 weeks. What can I do with these weeks? Really, give me 14 games. If you play 14 games, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, I don't know. We'll see. 'Cause last year was the first time he looked human ever, and because somebody grabbed his foot the wrong way, and he was going to run for 29,000 yards last year. 37 touchdowns, something just crazy. He was on pace to do unbelievable things before he got hurt. Is that same guy coming back? He played in the playoffs, so we know that he's going to be healthy because he returned for there. Everything in the offseason is showing Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. Why is he not number one? I'm not saying he's not for some guys. Is he number one for me? Is he number one for you? We'll see. But a guy like that, when you saw what happened last year, there was no one. He was the number one running back for 2 more weeks after he got hurt with the year that Jonathan Taylor had last year.
So this is something I've been thinking about a lot in preparation for getting my rankings together for drafting, so on and so forth. In terms of whatever running back I decide to invest in heavily this year,
Right.
if they have a handcuff, I will do whatever is necessary to have that handcuff. It's just
Okay.
too important. And for the top notch running backs who don't have a clear handcuff, it makes me a little iffy on taking them because anything can happen.
Right.
Now, as far as what you're saying, I might have Derrick Henry number one because he's never been hurt before. It was a freak accident. The
Yeah.
dude is a freak of nature.
Right.
And what else are they going to do?
What else are they gonna do without AJ?
What
I
else are they
know.
going to do?
I know. I
Ryan
know.
Tannehill to Robert Woods. I love Robert Woods, but off an ACL, that's not the answer. Give the rock to Henry and
Get a
then do it
ball.
again.
Pass the ball to Will, man.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
exactly. Exactly. Like, what are we
Pass the ball
talking
to
about?
Will. It's Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Derrick
It makes
Henry.
sense. It makes
Like,
sense.
he is not necessarily the safest choice this year. I do think that Taylor is going to be the safest running back choice going into the
Okay.
season. But from an upside standpoint, Derrick Henry, it's still like if everything breaks right for everyone, who do I think is the best running back? And I might have to lean Derrick Henry, given the amount of opportunity he's going to get, and given the fact that I do think that the workload will be lessened for McCaffrey. It just has to be. They can't do it again.
They
They
can't
can't
do it.
do it again.
They can't do it. And bouncing off these little ranks and these little touches here gets me into thinking about formats about drafts. So when you're thinking about draft format, obviously, are we in two running back leagues? Are we in some guys have two wide receiver or three wide receiver leagues? Are we talking about super flex leagues? Then you have your two quarterback leagues. We've played in all of these types of leagues. The main ones that we do together are those two quarterback leagues with the extra flex, with the three wide receivers. We really go hard here. So when you're when you're in a traditional snake format, typically the number one guy off the board is going to be a wide receiver. I mean, excuse me, a running back. But in a two quarterback league, does Josh Allen start to come into play as number one overall? Or is that too much for these types of formats?
No, what I would say is in terms of going QB that high in any circumstance, even if it's two QB league, how many people are participating? So if you're
Very
doing
true.
a two QB league and there are 14 teams, absolutely, Josh Allen should be the first pick. You shouldn't think twice about it.
Okay.
You want that. You want to make sure that you secure that. You don't want to wait until what would it be, 27th, 28th pick, whatever it is, when you come back around and hope that a QB worth a damn is waiting for you. No, 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 no.
I don't
Go ahead
know.
and take your QB. Take it. Now, if you're doing a two QB league and you have 10 teams, whatever, I can wait. I'm going to be all right. I
Right.
can wait on that.
Right. Where you at with 12? Split the difference.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't
Okay.
knock anybody who did it. It's not the way that I would play it.
Right.
Is the best way that I could put it. I wouldn't play it that way. But Josh Allen might just have a ridiculous year and put up 400 points this year. 400 might be a little low,
400 might
actually.
be conservative.
Yeah, like that might be a little low. Like Josh
Right.
Allen really might have a ridiculous
440,
year.
450. He
It's
runs
very
for 12
possible.
touchdowns, throws for
It's
35.
very, very,
Just
very, very
craziness.
possible. Like
Throws for 40 and runs for 12 touchdowns. Like
I still
4,500
rather
yards and 800 yards rushing, just insane. Because
I still
Buffalo's
want to
going to be
secure my
pissed.
running back. I still want to secure my running back though. That's
I'm
just
100.
me. Again, I might be a little too conservative.
Right.
Wide receivers have all this upside. The QBs have all this upside. But you get to week 8 every year and you look around the league and the teams with top-notch running backs seem to be pretty good because you can normally figure the rest out. You can't figure out running back on waivers. Unless somebody gets hurt, you don't just figure running back out. It's 32 teams, about half of them are going to have a timeshare. So right there, you have maybe 16 who have the potential to be top notch.
Right.
You're going to have 4 of those guys get hurt. You're going to have 3 of those guys not be productive. You look at the end of the year, you're
You're
at
looking at
midseason.
7
There are
guys.
9 guys that you actually trust week in, week out to produce. I want to have one of them.
Right.
Honestly, I want to have 2 of them. So I'm going to make
Right.
sure I get one early. Hope that when it comes around on the turn, okay, there's still somebody pretty decent that I can grab, and then pray they don't get hurt.
Right. You are speaking exactly how I draft. You know this from me. I am a running back guy. I get running back because you can't running back gets ugly so fast every single year, and it gets ugly faster every single year. And it's salary cap draft. One of I have 5 guys in my tier one. I'm probably going to have 2 of those guys in every draft that I do a salary cap, and that's just what's going to be. And I'll figure it out from there because value, like you say, is based on position as well. Positional advantage is huge. Running back is a positional advantage. Of course, you'll have a nice guy. You'll have your Rashad Pennies. Sure, they'll have a nice little 11, 12 points a game. But when you're looking at 47 from Derrick Henry 4 times a year, plus his baseline of 27, 28 last year, things are starting to look interesting. And then now you have these points to get you to that magic number. It just worked well for me. Most people I know can't live that way. They can't live with the volatility. I sleep well with the volatility. It makes perfect
It,
sense
it,
to me.
it
Because
it's
every time we
risky.
leave a draft, I look at your
It's
team and I say,
risky, but
God damn, that team is good.
when it
But look
works,
at
it
my top
works.
photo. I'm on your
When
ass.
it works, it works. I like my balance. I like to go into a season thinking, okay, I don't have any holes. So then I'm just trying to, chip away, grab some extra value when I can grab some extra value. You spoke earlier and you said you go into a draft and you always say, I know my team's not going to look like this. It's the same with me. Every year I say I'm not going to make trades. And then by week two, I've made three trades because I can't help myself. More often than not, if I just went into a year with the team I drafted, I probably would have been all right.
You probably have more
Probably.
championships than you've gotten over the last 3 years.
Eh,
You probably do. You probably have at least one or two more. Absolutely. Absolutely. You
you
draft better
didn't
than
have to say
anybody I've
that.
seen.
You didn't have to say that.
Oh, I'm here for the
You
real. You
know.
know that.
Yeah,
I've told you
yeah,
this.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here for it
You
because
know
you
what?
draft,
Yeah,
and this is, as more people start to see who we are and join this ride that we're on, you'll see that the reason why we're doing this, why you are doing this with me, why I am doing this with you, is because we can't do what the other person does really, really well. I can't do what you do. I don't know how to do it.
I-
My brain doesn't work that way.
and
My
I look
brain.
at your teams and I always say, it's so risky. But if it breaks right,
Right.
it's a problem for everybody if it breaks right.
Right. And then another thing that we both do, that waiver wire, my man. That waiver
You
wire,
got to be on it. Got to be
it
on it.
matters. It matters. And people
What did you
say,
start off
I
saying?
don't. Right.
You will not be outworked. You're
No,
not going to outwork me.
you're not going to outwork me. You're not going to outwork me. In the leagues that we're in, I would say not one of us outworks the other, but we work